There's a truth about money almost no one dares to speak. You can spend thousands of dollars on courses and still find yourself stuck in the same place. And what's even scarier? Many people who've never formally studied finance are decades ahead of those who pay a hefty price, hoping for a magic solution. This often shocks people. How is it possible for someone to achieve more by knowing less? Today, you'll understand exactly why. When it comes to money, very few realize that most losses don't stem from a lack of knowledge, but from emotions that silently dictate crucial decisions. It's fascinating to consider that someone can know exactly what to do, have heard all the advice, seen success stories, and still repeat the same mistakes. And why does this happen? Because emotion speaks louder than logic. The fear of losing out, the anxiety of falling behind, the feeling that any misstep could destroy everything. All of this paralyzes us. It's as if our brain tries to protect us from an invisible danger. Harvard research shows that when we sense the possibility of financial loss, the same brain areas linked to physical risk are activated. In other words, for many, investing a small sum can trigger the same physical response as facing a wild animal. It's irrational, yet profoundly human. And perhaps you've experienced this yourself. That moment when an opportunity arises, you consider taking it, feel an impulse, but suddenly an inner voice starts conjuring absurd scenarios. What if everything goes wrong? What if I lose every single penny? What if I regret it? What if I can never recover the money? Most people don't realize it, but it's precisely this avalanche of thoughts that keeps them stuck in the same place for years. They then come to believe the problem is bad luck, insufficient income, or lack of opportunity, when in reality, it's simply a lack of emotional control. One of the biggest examples of this occurred in 2008, when the market collapsed. Millions of everyday investors sold off their assets at the worst possible moment. People who had worked for decades, saved dollar for dollar, squirreled away what they could, watched everything plummet and fell into despair. But the curious twist is that those who remained calm, or who simply decided to wait, recovered every dollar and even profited afterward. The financial tragedy for many wasn't caused by the crisis itself, but by panic, an emotional detail capable of altering a whole lifetime's destiny. Now imagine for a moment what your financial life would be like if, before every important decision, you had complete clarity. If instead of acting on impulse, you analyzed real numbers, historical data, concrete facts. Fear would cease to be a shadow controlling your steps and would become just a feeling, something that no longer dictates your destiny. That's exactly where the advice comes in that can completely transform how you deal with money. The first piece of advice is never to make important decisions during moments of extreme emotion. It sounds simple, but many people lose thousands of dollars because they try to decide something precisely when they're angry, afraid, or overly excited. These are the worst times to tamper with your financial future. The second piece of advice is to transform emotions into data. This means that whenever that discomfort strikes, instead of fleeing, you should investigate. Why am I afraid? What's the real risk? How much could this actually cost me? Is there a basis for this feeling? Or is it just an exaggerated alert? The vast majority of answers appear when you look at the numbers. You start to see clearly what once seemed like an unattainable monster. And when you get used to questioning instead of running away, fear begins to shrink. The third piece of advice is to create clear rules for yourself. Not complicated rules, but simple enough to follow even on the worst days. It could be something like investing a fixed percentage of your income, not selling anything during market downturns, or always waiting 24 hours before making big decisions. These rules act like rails that prevent the train from derailing. Your emotions might waver, but they no longer have the power to push you over the precipice. And at this point, it's worth recalling a case almost everyone knows, the story of MC Hammer. He earned more than $70 million during his career, but he spent impulsively, It was pure emotion. Cars, massive mansions, extravagant gifts. Before he knew it, he was buried in debt, unable to maintain the lifestyle he had created for himself. He didn't go broke from a lack of money. He went broke because he never established rules to control his emotions around the money he was earning. This is the most extreme reflection of what happens every day to ordinary people, just in smaller, quieter versions. And perhaps you're wondering, how do you control this in practice? The first answer is awareness. The second is habit. And the third is repetition. To help build this, there's a simple exercise that can transform the way you handle financial decisions. During the next week, whenever a money-related decision arises, whether it's buying something, investing, spending, lending, selling, apply the 24-hour rule. Don't decide immediately. Wait, reflect, analyze, breathe, put everything on paper. What seemed urgent loses its power once you remove emotion from the equation. It's astonishing how many bad expenses and decisions simply vanish when we take a step back. In the end, realizing this changes everything, because the problem was never money itself, but the way emotions push you away from what truly matters. When you learn to master this, you free yourself from the cycle of financial anxiety that traps so many people and begin to build stronger, smarter, and more lasting decisions. And that's precisely where the difference begins between those who merely dream of stability and those who actually build it every single day. Many people go through life believing that wealth is a matter of talent, a gift, of being born with a certain special touch for making money. And that's one of the biggest lies society repeats without realizing it. The truth is that wealth comes from habits, those behaviors you repeat every day almost without noticing. It's curious how people carry ready-made excuses. They say they weren't born into a rich family, that they're unlucky, not good with numbers, or don't understand investments, as if all these justifications were insurmountable barriers. But studies from Duke University show that almost half of everything you do in your day is driven by habit, not talent. This means the difference between those who grow and those who stagnate lies in what is repeated silently, automatically, daily. And when you look at the lives of people around you, you might notice that almost everyone follows the same pattern. They wake up rushing, pay bills without knowing exactly where their money goes, spend without control, claim the month is tight, that their salary isn't enough, that the cost of living has risen, and in the end, they come to believe the problem is always external. But what if the problem lies in the internal autopilot? What if, every single day, you're repeating habits that push you further from the life you desire? Most don't even realize they're trapped in a cycle of behavior that never changes. One of the greatest examples of how habits transform destinies is the story of Sylvester Stallone. He lived in a tiny room with less than $200 in his pocket, even selling his dog to survive. But every day, without fail, he wrote 10 pages of a screenplay that no one believed would succeed. That became Rocky, and Rocky lifted Stallone from destitution to the list of highest-paid people in cinema. It wasn't luck. It wasn't supernatural talent. It was habit, the discipline of doing a little bit every day, even when no one believed. And this brings us to the first big lesson: automate your progress. If you need to decide every week how much to invest, how much to save, or how much to put away, you're inviting your emotions to take control. The mind always finds excuses. Not today, this month is tough, I'll start next month. But when you set up automatic deposits, even if it's just $5 or $10, you take the decision out of the hands of emotion and place it in the realm of consistency. And it's consistency that builds results. The second lesson is to monitor your spending, not in a complicated way, but clearly. When you record every single expense for 30 days, from your morning coffee to your biggest purchase of the month, one thing happens. You see yourself. And when you see yourself, you change. People think they know how they spend money, but statistically, most are way off. And that's why so many say, "I don't know where my money goes." The truth is, the money doesn't just disappear. It simply goes unnoticed because no one is looking. The third lesson is to set aside a single hour each week to learn something about finance. 1 hour. You don't need an expensive book, a sophisticated course, or a renowned mentor. 1 hour a week already places you among the people who make the most financial progress in the world. The vast majority go for years without learning absolutely anything about money, even though they deal with it every day. And how can anyone prosper with something they don't understand? You learn about entertainment, sports, social media, but not about what determines your survival. 1 hour a week changes this completely. To understand the weight of this lack of habit, just look at stories like Mike Tyson's. He earned more than $300 million. It was a money-making machine, but without solid habits, they spent uncontrollably, monitored nothing, trusted the wrong people, and never established a routine for financial protection. By the time they realized it, they owed millions. It wasn't a lack of income, it was a lack of habit. It's proof that it doesn't matter how much you earn, but how you live. And perhaps you've felt this firsthand. The feeling that you work too much, but the money just evaporates. The frustration of looking back and realizing nothing has changed. The hope that the future will be different, but without changing anything in the present. Have you noticed how almost everyone says they'll start on Monday, on the first day of the month, or in the new year? It's always tomorrow, always later. And that later turns into an entire lifetime. Here's a pattern interrupt. Think fast. If someone asked you right now to list everything you've spent in the last 7 days, could you do it? It's astounding how almost no one can answer. And yet, they continue to believe they have financial control. This illusion is the kind of habit that guarantees stagnation. To transform this, start by implementing small routines that generate big results. Set up an automatic deposit. Record your spending today. Allocate your weekly hour for learning. These small, repeated actions create a new financial identity. And when you change your habits, you change your trajectory. The difference between those who prosper and those who stay in the same place is almost never talent. It's behavior. It's repetition. It's daily decision-making. It's consistency, even on bad days. And when this becomes a part of you, your entire life begins to respond differently. Your income, your self-esteem, your security, your mental clarity, everything changes when your habits change. It's at this point that you realize wealth isn't about luck or a gift. It's about becoming the person who builds day after day what so many believe to be unattainable. There's a decisive point in anyone's financial life. The moment they understand that their income only grows when they grow. Not when the market changes, not when someone recognizes their worth, not when a miraculous opportunity arises, but when they themselves decide to evolve. It's almost strange to realize this, because most people believe that earning more depends on something external. They say the country is tough, that salaries aren't increasing, that companies don't value their employees, that there's no room to grow. But when you look at research from Stanford University showing that people who invest in themselves increase their income up to 3 times faster than others, it becomes clear that it's not the environment that defines one's destiny, but rather how much you develop within it. Perhaps you've felt you work too much and earn too little, as if you're running on a treadmill that never leads anywhere. You see your paycheck come in, go out, disappear. The feeling is one of always living in the same cycle, no matter how much you exert yourself. And this feeling is common because many people live trapped in a pattern of survival, repeating the same actions and expecting different results. But nothing changes until you change. Someone's financial life improves when they become more valuable, more prepared, more capable. When they understand that money is a consequence, not the starting point. Oprah Winfrey's story is a perfect illustration of this. She earned less than $1 an hour working at a local radio station. It was a situation that for many would be definitive, a limit imposed by reality. But instead of accepting that as her destiny, Oprah decided to invest in herself. She studied communication, developed her skills, refined her presence, learned to understand people, perfected her ability to converse, to convey messages, to create emotional connection. It wasn't opportunity that made Oprah grow. It was Oprah who grew so much that opportunities began to emerge naturally. And that completely transformed her life, allowing her to build a billionaire empire. It's impossible to look at this story without realizing that internal growth always precedes external change. And this leads us to the first major practical lesson: investing in skills that increase your market value. It could be communication, it could be organization, it could be leadership, it could be sales. Each new skill opens a new door. Each opened door increases your earning potential. Those who learn more inevitably earn more. And it's impressive how even small skills make a difference. A person who knows how to communicate better has a higher chance of being promoted. Someone who knows how to manage their time better produces more. Someone who knows how to sell transforms their talent into money. And when these skills accumulate, income automatically follows. The second lesson is never to rely on a single source of income. Because when your entire survival depends on a single paycheck, any instability generates fear, and fear leads to poor decisions. But when you create new sources, even small ones, your life changes. It could be something online. It could be something you know how to do that others value without you realizing it. It could be a skill you've recently developed. This diversification gives you freedom, security, and the feeling that you're building something greater than just paying bills. The third lesson is to set aside a portion of what you earn to learn something new that will yield future returns. Not something immediate, not a fleeting pleasure, but knowledge that multiplies. Because everything you learn comes back to you in some form, as opportunity, clarity, skill, new decisions, new paths. And all of this is reflected in the money that comes in. It's one of the few things in the world that behaves like an investment that never stops yielding returns. And the fourth lesson is to understand that wealth rarely arises in isolation. It emerges through exchange, connection, and the relationships you build along the way. People open doors that no technical skill can. The right relationships shorten paths that would otherwise take years. That's why building genuine, honest, and strategic connections is just as important as studying or working. But there's also the dark side of ignoring growth. Blockbuster is an emblematic example of this. A giant, dominant company worth millions. It could have kept pace with the growth of the digital market. It could have evolved. It could have reinvented itself. But it ignored change, stood still in time, believing its size would guarantee its survival. The result was collapse, not because the market was cruel, but because it didn't grow at the same speed as the world. This shows that no matter how strong you are today, if you stop evolving, the world will pass you by. And to make this even clearer, imagine now that you wake up tomorrow with a new skill worth $10,000 a month. Your life changes instantly. Your choices change, opportunities change, your self-esteem changes, the way people see you changes. And the most interesting thing is to realize that this isn't fantasy. This skill exists. It just hasn't been built yet. That's why continuous growth is so powerful. It doesn't matter where you came from, how much you earn today, or how many times you've tried to change your life. What matters is how much you are willing to develop yourself. Because when you truly start to grow, everything around you begins to move along. Your income, opportunities, relationships, your future. Everything changes when you change. And as all of this falls into place, it's impossible not to notice how small mindset adjustments can completely transform someone's trajectory. Every insight you absorb here has the power to open doors that, often, you didn't even imagine were there. And if this content has made any difference to you, imagine the impact it could have on someone who desperately needs this clarity right now. Share this video with that special person, someone you know could make significant progress just by hearing this today. Thank you for being here, for dedicating this moment to yourself, and I'll see you in the next video.